Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kopi Jana Vallabha Grivanadari. Kopi Jana Vallabha Grivanadari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Grivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Grivanadari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Bharabhadakacharya Asadhara Satushi Shiman. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hariva Slava Zabrani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Garangi. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasad Bhute Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyatyade Siddharne. Om Agana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite, the Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Prishubhanu Sudadevi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Panchakapa Tubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, Text 16. Shushusha Sharadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana Shushusha Sharadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana Shushusha Sharadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Rujta Karuchi. Ladies. Shushusho, one who's engaged in hearing. Shradanasya, with care and attention. Vasudeva, in respect to Vasudeva. Kata, the message. Ruchi, affinity. Syat, is made possible. Mahat Sevaya, by service rendered to pure devotees. Vipra, O twice born. Punyatirtha, those who are cleansed of all vice. Nishevanat, by service. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Please repeat. O twice born sages. By serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Purport. The conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. There are men called Deva, or godly living beings, and there are men called Asuras, or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, a vivid description of the Asuras is given, in which it is said that the Asuras are put into lower and lower states of life, after states of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. These Asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the supreme will. Such devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord, and when they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as the powerful incarnations of the Lord, as the sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord. But none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is a blasphemy declared by the Asuras, and the demoniac follows that such Asuras also accept pretenders as God, or his incarnation. In the revealed scriptures, there is a definite information of the incarnation of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to a particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself, according to the indication of the revealed scriptures. But he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears with his hands and chant the name of Lord Vishnu. He strongly protested about being called God, although undoubtedly he was God himself. The Lord behaved so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. The servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because the servants risk everything for the service of the Lord, and so are very dear to the Lord. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 1869 that there is no one dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glories. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of the Lord, of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So the text again. Shushu sho sharadanasya vasudeva kataruchi syan mahat sevya vipra punya tirtha nishevana. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Saraswatundeve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Sitarne. Srila Prabhupada mentions about Suras, the destination. Tanaham dvishata koran samsareshi naradamam shipram ajasram ashubam asri shveva yonishu asrim yoni apanam muda janvini mama prapyaiva kontiya tato yamanam katim. Now, of course, the word demon is not very popular nowadays, because sometimes people like to be called demons. It's not like they dislike. It's not, nowadays it's not an insult if you call someone a demon. They say, "Yeah, the devil's my boss." Matter of fact, when we went on, we saw that there are clubs outside, there are restaurants called things like the Demon's House and things like that. People identify with it. But Krishna says, Tanaham dvijata Quran, samsreshu naradamam. So demons are envious and mischievous. And Krishna considers them at least the lowest among mankind. And their destination is they go into lower and lower species of life. Now people don't mind sometimes. When Prabhupada was giving a lecture at one university, one lady raised her hand, one student raised her hand and said, Swamiji, you say if I act like a dog, I'm going to become a dog. But I'd like you to know that I don't mind if I become a dog. As a matter of fact, I want to become a dog. And so Prabhupada raised his hand and said, you have my blessings. As a matter of fact, for $10,000, I think around that, in Japan, you can buy a dog outfit. People buy dog outfits, and they wear them, and they go to the park, and they pretend they're a dog, and they play with the other dogs in the park. So, Krishna will fulfill desires. He's fulfilling everyone's desire. And therefore we find so many dogs. Because people want to become dogs. Or even if they don't want to become dogs, by their activities, they're destined to become something like a dog. Now, what's the difference between a person destined to become a dog and a devotee? So Krishna says, Tri vidam narakasyedam dwaram nashitam atmanaha kama krodha tata lobhas tasman etam trayam chajet. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. This is the introduction to hell. It's not the whole story, but it's the introduction. Because Krishna also says, from anger, frustration comes delusion. So how do we know if we're in illusion? Well, we just have to ask ourselves, to what degree do I identify myself with this gross and subtle body? If I identify myself with this gross and subtle body, it means I'm an illusion. And why am I an illusion? Because to one degree or another, I've cultivated lust, I've cultivated anger, and I cultivated greed. So what should I do? So Krishna says, Etanyapi tu karmani, no, actually that's wrong. Etan vimukta konteya tamo dwara srivir nara achrat ashre. Etan vimukta konteya tamo dwara srivir nara achrat yatmana shreyas tato yati param gatim. That a man who gives up these three things, he performs activities which are conducive to self-realization, and thus he attains to the supreme destination. So it's not a hopeless, helpless. It's within our power to actually get free from lust, anger, and greed. As a matter of fact, this verse deals specifically with that. At the beginning of hearing, is to gradually come to the platform of Nishta. That's what we're trying to aim for. Liberation. Freedom from this misidentification with our gross and subtle bodies. And here it says, in order to do that, sushusho. Sushusho means to hear with the attitude of service. That we're trying to learn how to become a servant, and a servant of who? One in the disciple succession coming from Krishna. Why someone coming in the disciple succession of Krishna? Because actually we're trying to become a servant of Krishna. And by becoming a servant of Krishna, we learn how to become a perfect servant of everyone else. Because everyone has the same interest. Everyone's interest is Krishna. We're all infinitesimal living entities, spiritual beings, and therefore no one's interest is simply in another infinitesimal living entity. But if that infinitesimal living entity can be instrumental in delivering Krishna to others, then he becomes worthy of respect. Because Krishna is unlimitedly everything, and therefore, and he's unlimitedly affectionate to every living entity. Everyone by nature is in love with Krishna, and Krishna is in love with everyone. And by becoming Krishna conscious, we not only love Krishna, but we'll be able to see how Krishna is everywhere. That even his parts and parcels, we'll see within them, vidya vinaya sampane brahmani govi hastini, shuni chaiva swapakecha, pandita samadarshana. We'll be able to love Krishna in the hearts of all living entities, and at the same time love every living entity also. Because they're also dear to Krishna, they become dear to one who's dear to Krishna. So, sushusho means here with the attitude of service, not only to Krishna, but to learn how to serve his part and parcels also. Because Krishna, as it explains in the verse, he's more pleased when we serve his part and parcels. But we can only learn that service attitude from someone who has it perfectly. So someone who has it perfectly means that they teach us the same thing that Krishna teaches us. And they live life in such a way, they dedicate their lives to teaching others a service attitude towards Krishna. So we may not be able to recognize who's exactly absolutely perfect in Krishna consciousness, except that we take it, at least theoretically within our society, that Srila Prabhupada is such a person. We may not know exactly what platform Srila Prabhupada is on. As a matter of fact, we cannot even imagine what Srila Prabhupada's platform is. We'll only understand it when we come to that platform. On the other hand, if we at least theoretically understand what the different levels are, then at least we'll be able to understand what level we're on and what our next level is and the means of getting there. So that's the most important thing we can understand. We don't have to understand everything what Raganuga Bhakti is about, or Prema Bhakti, or the Ragatmika Bhaktas are. We don't have to, because it's nice to hear about it, at least have a background what we're trying to achieve, but it's not that, for instance, if you're going to walk from here to, say, someplace like Brussels. So how do you get there? How do you walk from here to Brussels? What's the first thing you have to do? What's that? Well, that would help. But after you have your map, what do you have to do to get there? You have to take your first step. You have to take one step. It's not that I've taken the first step and I'm there, but I'm a little closer to getting to Brussels than if I don't take the first step. So we need a map. Yes, the first thing we need is a map to know which direction to go in. And then if we're walking towards Brussels and we see a sign, 50 kilometers to the North Pole, then we know we're going the wrong direction. Oh, maybe not. To the South Pole, we know we're going the wrong direction. We should see a sign, just like when we're coming back from Padayatra, there are signs, 70 kilometers to Ljubljana, 35 kilometers to Ljubljana. So we know we're going the right direction. So we have to know what the different levels are, at least theoretically how to get there, but we also have to experience that we're on a certain level now, and then after some time we're on the next level. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we should think about what our previous life was like. Not all day. But we should have some guideline that my previous life was like that, and now I'm like this. Otherwise we'll become discouraged. When I was in the movement for 1 year, I wrote to Srila Prabhupada that how does Bhava turn into prema? I was sending Srila Prabhupada a contribution to the book fund, usually every month, and Prabhupada would write me back a letter. And I'd ask him questions, and Prabhupada would write an answer in the letter. So I was staying up at night reading a book called the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And I was wondering, because it was quite an intricate book about the different levels of bhakti, commentaries by Srila Jiva Goswami, and one of the things it was mentioning about bhava turning into prema. So I was thinking, well, when I get up to bhava, how is it going to turn into prema? I don't quite understand all the intricacies. So Srila Prabhupada wrote me a letter back about preaching, and then at the end of the letter he said, as far as bhava turns into prema, there's no need to worry about yourself about these topics at the present time. That soon my book called Nectar of Devotion will come out, and it'll be explained in there. So we should know theoretically, but Shushusho, we're just trying to develop a little service attitude, a little enthusiasm to do some kind of service. And how to do it? Shraddhanasya, with care and attention. Priti purvakam. Care means priti, and attention means tesham sadatam yuktanam. Try to not get to deviate too much. Keep on the path, and keep on the path with care. And that itself will, vishaya vinivartante nirharasidena, that itself will give a higher taste. It is not that we have to roll on the ground in ecstasy, and then we know we're making progress. Whatever hair we have in our head stands on end. No, that's not necessary. Just a little bit of encouragement that we're getting some indication that my mind's a little bit more peaceful. I'm able to understand things more clearly. How everyone is actually Krishna's eternal servant, that they're not their bodies. I don't have to be in competition with everyone to become the greatest, because we'll never become the greatest. It's already taken up. There's no sense trying to get better and better and better and surpass everyone, because we'll never be able to surpass everyone, because there'll always be so many living entities superior to us. But if we learn appreciation for others who are better than we are, then we'll get better ourselves. And if we become unappreciative, then we'll actually get worse. Then our consciousness will go down. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami advises, if we hear someone chanting Hare Krishna, then we should at least respect them within our minds. We may not intimately associate with them, but we should appreciate that actually they're associating with Krishna when they chant Hare Krishna, and they're giving me the opportunity to also associate with Krishna. Therefore, they're my friend. On the other hand, the Asuras, who are chanting so many nonsensical things about the glories of lust, the glories of anger, the glories of greed, and how wonderful the different types of delusion are, and how we should forget about God and just lose our intelligence and just engage in sense gratification like an animal. So these are the people we're trying to avoid. So the devotees come and they teach us there are asuras. They don't have horns and they don't necessarily have a tail. They don't have fangs. They may be very, very attractive people. But they'll send us to the darkest regions of existence if we associate with them too intimately. On the other hand, if we hear from the devotees, those who are in the disciple succession, then we have to understand that the topmost devotee, like we accept theoretically Srila Prabhupada, we have to accept in full surrender and serve him like a menial servant without false prestige. Now we may think, well, there's Prabhupada and he's a statue in the temple and we have a little ceremony for him every day. But actually Prabhupada is still here. He's here as a deity form, and he reveals himself as the deity form as Krishna in the altar. We're not worshiping statues on the altar either. We're not statue worshippers. Otherwise we could just put a totem pole on the Vyasasana and worship that too, which some people do. No, Prabhupada is present, and he's revealed as we follow the instructions. And his instructions are not just to worship him. He's not sitting there because he's lonely and he needs someone to worship him. He's giving us instructions how by serving his instructions we can properly honor all living entities. And by properly serving Krishna in disciple succession, we can develop love for everyone, all living entities. Therefore, wherever we look, we'll see the object of our love and affection. Therefore, we'll never be lonely, we'll never be envious, we'll never be discouraged, because we'll have opportunities, endless opportunities to serve, endless opportunities, endless objects of love and affection. So, through the disciple succession, we try to put our acharya within our heart, and through him see all others as objects of love and affection, and be able to discriminate properly who's on what level so we can reciprocate with them accordingly. We can see who's superior, who actually knows more than I do, has more experience in Krishna consciousness, and by serving their example and their instructions, come at least to their level of spiritual attainment. And they're teaching us how to come because they have their superiors that they're following. And ultimately, it must stop at a acharya in the disciple succession, who's a transparent media to all the other acharyas, and ultimately to Krishna. When Vidura came back after pilgrimage, Maharaj Yudhisthira greeted him with the words, Bhavan Vidas Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhutak Swayam Vibho Tirtha Tirtani Bhutani Swantak Stena Kathabritaha. That saints like yourself are verily places of pilgrimage, because wherever they go, they turn that place into a place of pilgrimage, because they carry Krishna within their heart. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put Krishna in our heart. There's a television in everyone's heart, a spiritual television also. Right now we're turning onto the wrong channels, that's all. Our heart is a little broken, and that's why we're turning onto the real channels, and we're watching all kinds of foolish things that are going on. But there's also a spiritual channel in our heart, and if we repair it, then the result is we'll be able to see Krishna's pastimes flowing in our heart, just like a river flowing, Ganges river flowing. The name, the form, the quality and pastimes of Krishna and his associates will all be flowing in our heart constantly. That's called sarasaki. And we'll always be in love and ecstasy, because that's all that goes on in the spiritual world, is love and ecstasy, in ever-growing awareness of how wonderful Krishna and his associates are. So that's our opportunity, and if we learn from someone who has a pure heart, pure channel to Krishna, and we learn from those who are learning from him what they've learned, because we can learn from others also who've learned things that we have to learn. And they're teaching us not as independent authorities, but they're teaching us as servants of those acharyas in disciple succession, and as servants of those who are servants of those acharyas in disciple succession, and therefore they can convey that knowledge to us. And if we serve the servants of Krishna and the servants of Krishna, then the servants are pleased. And when the servants are pleased, then Krishna is pleased. If we think that I'm only going to serve Prabhupada and I'm not going to serve Prabhupada's servants, then Prabhupada will not be pleased. As one devotee wrote to Srila Prabhupada one time, that I only can serve this devotee, his name was Siddha Swarup. So Prabhupada said, actually, Siddha Swarup is a pure devotee, but the other devotees, they're also pure devotees. So Siddha Swarup Maharaj, he'll go back to Godhead, and all the other devotees will go back to Godhead, and we'll have another ISKCON in the spiritual world. So it is not that we're going to go back to Godhead and there's Krishna and ourselves, and sometimes he goes to see Radha. No, there's a whole world of spiritual beings there. There's a whole world of spiritual beings here. And we have to learn how to serve each one of them appropriately, and that's how we make advancement in spiritual life. It's according to our ability and our willingness to serve others in relation to Krishna. So that service is being done. Everyone is learning how to serve. But when it's limited and limited and limited, how is it limited? Yakshasri vidim utsrija vartate kamakarata disasidim avatnoti nasukam na param gatim. That one who rejects Shastra and acts according to whims. What is that whim? Lust, anger, greed, and all the other things that follow, loss of intelligence. But ultimately we're just serving lust, anger, and greed. Gives up the Shastra and serves lust, anger, attains neither peace, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. Therefore, tasmat shastram pramanam te, karya karya vyastito, gyatva shastram vidanokta, karma karta miharasi. Therefore, one should know what is one's duty and what is not one's duty by the instructions of Shastra. And knowing such duty, one should act so that one will gradually become elevated. So we have to read Prabhupada's books, or we have to hear from Prabhupada, or from those who have heard from Prabhupada, and repeating the same message that's in the books, according to their understanding. Then we can actually surpass the illusory energy, because the books will actually help us remember Krishna. If we don't remember Krishna, then we don't know what Shastra is talking about. If we think Shastra is about so many different things that we don't understand, so complicated, so philosophical. No, it's talking about the beautiful cowherd boy named Krishna herding cows in Goloka Vrindavan. That's what it's all, and the loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees. Evam samoha, evam, actually, what is that? Yomam evam asamudo janati purushottama sasarvavit bhajante mam sarabhavena bharata. that anyone who knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is said to be the knower of everything, and therefore he engages himself in full devotional service. In other words, we're just trying to become convinced that Krishna is God in every respect that he claims himself. He says he's in our heart. So if he's in our heart, he can guide us if we take his guidance. He's not some old man aloof on some cloud somewhere. He's actually right there in our heart. And most people they don't realize they're already taking guidance from Krishna. He's conscious. He's conscious. Otherwise, people would be killing each other in the street already. That's the end of Kali Yuga. When they're so covered over, they can't hear Krishna in the heart at all. They're just looking at everyone as supper. So that means you have no conscience left. Like in Africa, there's a tribe there in Africa. They believe that if you're alive, you're good, and if you're dead, you're bad. So it's a very simple philosophy. So if I kill my enemy, it's all right because he was bad, he's dead. And if I'm still alive, then I'm good. Not very shastric. But that's what human civilization is coming to. That's why they're killing the children in the womb. That's why they're killing old people. That's why they're killing themselves. Because they're giving up Shastra. And they're giving up the people. There are hardly anyone in the society who are actually repeating and explaining Shastra to people that in a way they can understand. They can accept that Krishna is God and that we're all his eternal servants, one way or the other. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted to create a society of devotees who would be able to help people get out of their miserable conditions of ignorance by distributing these books, by distributing the holy name, by becoming pure devotees ourselves, so that the words that we speak, as Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta coming over, he said, please let my words become so powerful, potent, spiritually effective, that they can enter into the hearts of the conditioned souls and gladden them and enliven them. So we want that. We want to become instruments for Krishna so we can actually serve his divine mission of helping all living entities, bringing them back to their original state, being part of an eternal spiritual family. For a devotee, there are no enemies. There's only forgetful living entities who they're trying to help. So, if we accept Srila Prabhupada, because how can we not accept Srila Prabhupada? Who else has that been so powerful to go around the world and to create devotees in all religions and all cultures and all races, create devotees out of conditioned souls? Therefore, how can we not accept Prabhupada and his teachings and try to apply them if we want to become pure devotees ourselves? So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
Thank you for inspiring lecture. I just wanted to ask about some advices how to serve devotees properly. So what are like some guidelines to really serve in the right way?
Well, if they ask you to get a glass of water, then get a glass of water. Don't come back with a banana milkshake. So we have to hear, because unless we hear, we won't know what they want. So we have to hear in such a way as to understand what they want, and then if it's within the realm of Krishna consciousness, then we can do that. That's called service. Submission, inquiry, what do you want? Submission, hearing in such a way as to try to understand what they want, and then perform service, and it's perfect. So if someone chants during the kirtan, and you respond, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Perfect service. It doesn't have to be very complicated. If you're serving prasadam, and someone puts their plate out, and they accept your prasadam, you're doing perfect service. So the only thing is we have to have a perfect attitude in the service, that's all. And that will improve. So we should think, as Prabhupada said, Mat Praha. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna, and I'm doing it just to please him. That's perfectly Krishna consciousness. Krishna wants me to do the service to this devotee, and I'm doing it to please Krishna, and of course the devotee is included. And then Krishna will give us the intelligence how to do it in perfect Krishna consciousness. As a matter of fact, Krishna will actually help us remember him. And in Krishna's presence, our love for Krishna and our love for everyone else will develop, and that's perfect service. Not only doing what they want, but doing it with this attitude of love and service. If someone's coming by asking for prasadam, and the server goes, plop! It's nice, they got prasadam, but if it's done in a very loving way, it adds to the appreciation also. Therefore, if you go to an expensive restaurant, you don't go into a messy table with no one cleared the dishes, and you get the remnants of the people who took their last meal there. No, everything is beautifully arranged. There's nice music going. The waiter comes by nicely dressed. He's very polite. It creates an atmosphere, and the atmosphere is that of trying to create a loving, appreciative atmosphere. So that's what we try to create in all our activities. Anything else? Kvala Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.
Jai. Jai.